I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This is the Retro Hunting Adventures, and today we're doing Famicom games, starting with Bakuko Jinseigekijo II. And I apologize for any mispronunciation there, but it is the Life game. It is a board game series in Japan that has been translated to many different consoles. Here's a little bit about it from Wikipedia to give you some intro. Unlike the game of life, the player starts in his toddler years and has to go to elementary school, junior high, and high school before either being allowed to go to university or start his career. Unlike the North American counterpart, this board game has been updated numerous times. And their description seems to match my gameplay experience here because I'm competing against a computer-controlled opponent, and we each take our turns rolling a die and then moving the number of tiles on the die, and whatever action happens when we land on that spot is whatever it is. So you could almost, and I mean this in the very loosest sense, you could almost call this a prototype for a Mario Party game. However, no matter how long I've played it, I've never had any head-to-head, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 1 versus 3, 3 versus 1, any party games. It just seems to be you get whatever action is on the tile. You either advance your status or you lose your status, depending on whatever action the tile has you take to your career, as it were, going from elementary school all the way up to either university or a career. But with an English language patch, I could still see this being a reasonably good time. I wouldn't say it's going to be the greatest game of all time, but it seems decent enough. Speaking of decent enough, here we have Juvie Quest, which almost immediately from the moment I started playing struck me as a prototypical role-playing game. It's almost exactly what you'd expect from all the tropes of the genre. You have a party of characters moving on a world map. You have random enemy encounters. You have certain tiles that you step on that do damage to you that you have to heal your party from. And I imagine there are items to collect and bosses to defeat as well, but I didn't quite get that far. I got farther than I actually expected to, given that it's all in Japanese here, but just following the typical tropes of the RPG genre actually made a decent amount of progress, because whenever there's a random enemy encounter, you just select a party member, hit the button, and they attack. And apparently the previous owner of this game was leveled up enough to the point where random enemy encounters aren't going to completely kick my butt. So I thank the previous owner of this game, and I thank the seller who had it for only $1. I feel like I could copy NES, dump this ROM, maybe find a patch for it on ROM hacking, and then I could really dig into Juvie Quest. This one, more so than Bakuko 2, seems like it has a lot of promise beneath the surface. But I don't know anything about the plot, and looking it up online is somewhat difficult given there isn't even a Wikipedia page. And I would probably want to start from the beginning instead of at whatever random point in the middle of the journey this save state is at. So I would start over from scratch. But it seems to me what we have here is a Dragon Quest Final Fantasy style game. But from there, we move on to the next item on the list, which is Magical Taru Ruto. You may have seen this one in a previous episode of Retro Hunting Adventures, because I played a Super Famicom sequel to this game, Magical Taru Ruto 3. This is the first game, at least first console game in the series, but it's actually based on a manga series by Tatsuya Egawa, published in Shonen Jump from 1988 to 1992, that then spawned an anime that lasted 87 episodes and had 3 motion pictures between 1990 and 1992. So fairly popular as anime goes. Not Inuyasha levels of popular, and certainly not Dragon Ball levels of popular, but popular enough to spawn some novels and some movies and some video games. So I would call that a success. And here we have what is a side scrolling platforming game where it seems like I'm some sort of lizard person with a tongue that can knock out mice and pick up these acorns or fruits or whatever they are. I'm collecting items, I'm dispatching enemies, and I'm scrolling left to right. So, fairly typical platformer here, although I did encounter some difficulties because timing flicking your tongue out and jumping at the right level to use it to hit an enemy or pick up an item takes a little finesse. It's not bad controls, it's just controls that you need to get used to over time. And then there was a snail, or what I think was a snail, that was sitting on top of a platform. And when I tried to jump up and get the snail, it killed me. And when I tried to wait and see if the snail would go by, it jumped down and killed me. So I just kind of said, well, I need to learn more about this game at this point because I don't know how to handle this snail. I don't know whether I'm supposed to attack it. I don't know whether I'm supposed to like back up and let it jump off and then jump over it or run by it. Obviously, I've got some figuring out to do, but it seemed intriguing to me. Now, this one is Matukuman, and what we have here is a beat-em-up game where you and apparently a clan or a family that's traveling with you go to this town that's overrun by bad guys, and you have to punch your way through them. And you can also visit the shops in town. Some of them will offer to sell you items. Some of them will just shoo you out the door without an English language patch. I must admit, I have no idea what they're offering or if it's anything I really want. And I'm not sure how to collect enough money to buy anything. Maybe if I kill enough of these bad guys, that becomes a possibility. But there's a lot to learn about Matukuman, and I don't know it all as of yet. But for $1, there does seem to be some promise here. I say that about a lot of games, but I feel like with Juvie Quest and Matukuman in particular, I've hit upon some pretty good potential in cheap Famicom video games because I can pick them up and start playing them right away and make progress almost immediately. So, no complaints as far as these games go. It may be that this game is based on a period drama that aired on primetime TV from 1969 to 2011, but I can't find a reference to the video game being based on it. I just know that when I search for the game, the TV show comes up, so I suspect they might be related. It's an impressive game considering there are voice samples in the game, which I wasn't really expecting for a cheap Famicom game, so that's what makes me think that there may be a TV show connection. Might even be actors from the TV show providing the voices. And this one is the most straightforward and easy to understand out of my 5 cheap Famicom pickups. It's called Sky Destroyer, and it does what it says on the tin. You're a plane flying through the sky, and you're just shooting at everything in sight, because presumably they're doing the same, because it's some sort of air battle. Who knows, maybe it's a World War II battle. Maybe this is the Germans and the Americans, but you're all shooting at each other, and you're the good guy, and you're trying to take them all out. Now that I look it up, it says that the color of the sky changes according to the time of day, and the common enemy fighter planes you will encounter include F-6F Hellcats, Fu-4 Corsairs, and P-24 bombers. So whatever years those planes would date from is what dates the game. Apparently there's a famous hack of this game called Sky Invader as well. Usually homebrews or hacks don't make Wikipedia entries, but This one is famous for some reason because it has a different title screen, different music. The sky is pink. The player starts with 9 lives instead of 3, and the stages are called War. So be on the lookout for Sky Invader. Maybe that one's so famous that it's a bootleg that actually got released on Famiclones or hacked reproduction carts that somebody made in their basement. Who knows? But this one is an easy recommend because there is no need for a patch whatsoever. It's pick up and play. You just pick up the controller, hit start, and start shooting at anything coming towards you. It's that simple. Sometimes a good arcade game, in fact that this one is an arcade conversion, is just exactly that. You drop in a quarter, you start playing. You don't need to have anything explained to you. No instructions required, no hassle, no fuss, no muss. And the sound effects seem good. The colors, a little bland for the sky, but at least it changes over time to reflect that it's different periods of day. I mean, I can't expect multiple levels of parallax scrolling on most Famicom games, at least not unless they have enhancement chips inside. So this was probably the best they could do with the technology they had, but it's acceptably decent. I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and as always, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Those things all help the channel grow, and I'll see you again real soon.